When we add or subtract fractions, we want to make sure that the denominators are the same. We can't just start off adding the numerators and the denominators together. These bottom numbers have to be the same in order to add or subtract. And the way that we get those denominators to be the same is we're going to multiply the fractions, maybe both fractions or maybe just one fraction by a number, to make those denominators the same number. And the thought process involved in that is I'm thinking about multiples of 9, multiples of 10. So we've been doing a lot of simplifying fractions, which involve factors. With a factor, you're looking at what's a number that divides evenly into the given number. With multiples, we're taking that number and we're going to be multiplying it by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4. If I'm looking at this first one, number 9, multiples of 9 would be 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3 is 27, you could say 9 times 4 is 36, and just keep going, you know, as far as you want it to go. Those are multiples of 9. Then I look at the second denominator, which is a 2, and I look at what are some multiples of 2. We have 2, 4, 6, 2 times 4 is 8, times 5 is 10, and I'm just listing out multiples of 2. All right, and we could keep going if we wanted to. But what we call the least common multiple or the least common denominator when you're dealing with fractions is going to be the smallest number that's a multiple of both 9 and 2. So if I write them out in a list, sometimes it's easier for me to see what that least common denominator, LCD, least common multiple, those are all the same thing. It helps me see what that number should be. So if I'm going through my list, the smallest number that's in both lists is 18. That means that's the denominator that I want for my fraction. I want it to be 18. Again, you don't have to make this list out. Just sometimes if it's challenging for you to find the denominator, writing it out in list form, you're able to see those what that common denominator should be a little easier. So my common denominator should be 18. Let's look at this first fraction. I want the denominator to be 18. So what can I multiply 8 by that would give me 9 by, What can I multiply 9 by that would give me 18? Well, if I say 9 times 2, if I multiply the first fraction by 2, that would give me 8 over 18. If I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to also multiply the top by 2. So I'm multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 2 because that's what gives me 18 as my denominator, which is what my goal is. Now I need to look at the second fraction. I have a 2. I want there to be an 18 instead of the 2. Well, what can I multiply 2 by that would give me 18? And that is going to be 9. And so I multiply the top and the bottom of that fraction by 9. And if you're not sure what you could multiply 2 by to get 18, that's where, think about your multiplication facts, use your calculator to see what you would need to multiply by. And then actually do the multiplication. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Once I have my new fractions with the same denominator, now I can add those two fractions together. When we're adding fractions, we add the top number. I would say 8 times 9, 8 plus 9. 8 plus 9 is 17. And then we keep the denominator the same. We don't add the denominator together. Now in a previous video, we did multiplication with fractions, and that's where you multiply the top together, you multiply the bottom together. With addition, because we went through the whole process to get common denominators, we keep that common denominator. We don't add those together. Then I have to look and see, can I simplify this fraction? 17 and 18 don't have any factors in common. That means this is going to be in simplest form. So let's look at our second example. We have 11/12 plus 3/4. Now again, if I'm adding or subtracting, those have to be common denominators. The bottom numbers have to be the same in order for me to add them together. They're not, so I might have to multiply one of the fractions or both of the fractions by something to make the bottom number equal the same. So let's look. I have a 12 and I have a 4. I want to find the least common multiple. I want to find the smallest number that's a multiple of 12 and that's a multiple of 4. A lot of times you can just look at the problem and find what that number should be. But if not, or if you just want to make sure, just write out a couple of multiples. So if I'm writing multiples of 4, I'm saying 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16. I'm just going in order, writing out, 4 or 5 multiples of that number. So these are my multiples of 4. Right? You can use your calculator to help you if you need to find your multiples. And then I'm going to take the second number and do the same thing. I'm going to just write out a couple of multiples. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. And I could keep going as far as I wanted to go. Now, my common denominator is going to be the smallest number that's in both lists, which is 12. So my least common denominator, LCD, that's going to be 12. That means I want both of these denominators to be a 12. Now this one's already a 12. I didn't have to do anything to it, so I can just write it down. I have students sometimes who like to multiply it by 1, and that's perfectly fine because they like to do the same thing for both fractions, multiply it by something. You can multiply the top and bottom by 1 and get 11/12, or you could just write it again. It's the same thing. And then I want to look at the second fraction. I have 3/4. There's a 4 on the bottom, but I want there to be a 12 on the bottom. What can I multiply 4 by that will give me 12? And that's 3. So I want to multiply the bottom by 3, and then I also want to multiply the top by 3. Now I show that I'm multiplying top and bottom by 3 like this. If you need to write it a different way to where you can understand what you're doing, that's fine. Take notes the way that you need to that makes sense to you. I'm going to multiply the top by 3 and get 9. Multiply the bottom by 3 to get 12. Okay. So now the denominators are the same. I can add the top and I can keep the denominator at 12. So the denominator is going to stay the same. And then I'm going to have a 9 plus 11, which makes that 20/12. Now, for this answer, we get an improper fraction. So if you looked at any of the previous videos with multiplying and division, we talked about how to change an improper fraction to a mixed number. And it just kind of depends on what type of answer that you need. For my class, if I start with a mixed number, I end with a mixed number. But since I didn't have mixed numbers in my question, I'm okay with leaving the answer as an improper fraction. But we will have to simplify it. Okay, now if this would have been mixed numbers, I would have needed to go that extra step and change it to a mixed number. But because they're just regular fractions, it's okay for my answer to be in improper fraction form. But 20/12 does have some factors in common. And so I am going to need to simplify that. I could simplify it by 2. I can simplify it by 4. And that's the one that I'm going to choose just to have one less step. But you get the same answer either way. 20 divided by 4 is 5, and then 12 divided by 4 is 3. So my final answer would be 5/3. With subtraction, we have the same steps. We just subtract the numerators instead of add them. I want to look for a common denominator between 5 and 6. So I'm looking at what's a multiple of 5 that's also a multiple of 6. And we can write out our multiples in a list if we need to. So here's some multiples of 5. I'm just saying 5 times 1, 5 times 2, 5 times 3, times 4. Just writing out some multiples. And then I want to do the same thing with the second denominator. So write out some multiples of 6. 6 times 2, 6 times 3, times 4, times 5. So as I'm looking, I don't see anything that matches up, so I might need to extend my multiples a little more. I just went to 5 times 5 was 25, so maybe I need to say 5 times 6 is 30, 5 times 7 is 35, maybe write out a few more. And then I can see that my common denominator should be 30. So if you're writing out your list and you don't see anything, just double check your multiplication, and then maybe you need to write out a few more numbers to find that common denominator. So my common denominator should be 30. I'm looking at this first fraction, 3/5, and there's a 5 on the bottom. I want there to be a 30. So I'm going to look at what can I multiply 5 by that's going to give me 30, and that would be 6. If I multiply 5 by 6, I'll get 30. So I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 6. 6 times 3 is 18. 5 times 6 is 30. So my new fraction would be 18/30. And I'm subtracting. And then I look at the second fraction, it's 1/6. I want this 6 to be a 30. Again, I'm thinking about what can I multiply 6 by that would give me 30. And that's going to be 5. And so if you didn't come to 5 right away, that may be where you need to go through your multiplication facts, go through your calculator to help you get to that number. So one time, then we multiplied these values together. 1 times 5 is 5, and then 6 times 5 is 30. So my new problem is now 18/30 minus 5/30. And we want to subtract the numerators and keep the denominator the same. 18 minus 5 is 13. And then it's over 30. So 13/30. We would want to look and see if we can reduce this problem, which 13 is a prime number we're not able to reduce. So this would be my final answer, 13/30.